Well, hello once again, folks. Welcome back to the Square the Circle music channel. That's right. It's me, your pal, your host, Major. That's right, that goofy looking feller over in Western Oregon likes to talk about his record collection. All kinds of fun other stuff. I talk about, sometimes I talk about literature, sometimes I talk about film, sometimes I talk about just the culture at large. Yeah, it's not really much of a variety show by any means, I guess, but we like to just kind of like, sit and spin and just talk about things, right? So, yeah, well, welcome back to it. I haven't posted for quite some time. Been taking a little breaky poo from the YouTubes, and I don't know, just kind of trying to brave the last few weeks of of winter here. Like I said, I'm over in Western Oregon, the Great Pacific Northwest of the United States of America, and over here it's dark and gray and wet, and mold is growing on everything, and it's been this way now for damn near seven months or so of this type of stuff. And so not that I'm sick of my record collection yet. I don't think I'll ever get sick of that, but I'm running out of, honestly, I'm running out of books to thumb through, and I'm getting excited to get outside and get back in the garden and get my fingers and feet dirty and that type of thing. I'm kind of last little bit of pruning on some of my fruit trees. I have an apple tree and some blueberry plants, and just kind of getting the soil ready. Start injecting it full of life. Whether we like it or not, life continues on every year. So yeah, as things go round, the world keeps turning, and it keeps tossing turds at yours truly here. I mean, not really. I'm truly a lucky boy. I count my blessings every day. But we're all going through some hardships. The economy sucks ass. We're all we're all dealing with that. I just can't, you know what I mean? I just can't keep shelling out, $10 trips to the convenience store for the kids, and I love to do all this buying of junk store gems and the thrills of finding things at the the thrifty shops and whatnots. So I like to talk about that sometimes. I do another episode. Gosh, we got to be up somewhere, and I've lost track. The upper 20s or maybe even 30 episodes plus now these days. So here we are again. Let's talk about tales from the thrift, shall we? I always find some neat shit, and I like to share it with you guys. So you like to hear it? Here it goes. Not much more to say. I found some. Well, like I said, I'm gonna try to spice it up with some variety. I haven't posted for a long time. It's hard to get out and spend money on this stuff anymore. I'm growing. I can't believe I'm saying this aloud, but I'm kind of growing a little bit of a resentment toward, well, a lot of institutions, if you know what I mean. But especially, those damn thrift shops and their, I guess you could say not for profit situation they got going on, whatever. They're straight up just like incorporated bastards, like all the rest of them. And they're sucking every last little bit of lifeblood from us, aren't they? It's ridiculous. You go into these Goodwills or these St. Vincent de Paul's, and you're like trying to find a cool deal because they understand what they're doing, and you understand what you're doing. You're trying to find cool shit and resell it. I do a lot of that. Not just media. I do all kinds of stuff. I like to repair furniture. I like to repair stereo equipment. And flip that shit and buy pepperoni pizzas and video games for my kids, just like the rest of you, just like the rest of the poor people. And here we are. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And now it's reared its ugly head so bad that it's just blatant. And this is just another tax on the poor. And what these institutions are doing. You walk in and there's just racks of garments, just garbage. You know what I mean? Garments for men and women and children alike. And they're all $6.99, $8.99, blue jeans per pair. $14, $15, $20. You can get this shit brand new, made by the indigenous peoples of wherever, the 10-year-olds of Malaysia, from Walmart, which is shitty and unfortunate, but that's what it's doing, is it's driving us everyday people who like to just get a deal and can't afford any other way of life, I grew up buying my fucking blue jeans from Goodwill because they were $2.99 a pair and you could get by. Um, let's just, let's get real here, okay? This ain't a fashion show. I ain't no hip dude who knows anything about, real culture. So, yeah, where was I going with all this? Anyway, I'm sick of paying exorbitant prices for junk. They're fucking ripping us off left and right. And they're just, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's like, okay, they're making jobs for people who are like, have barriers to employment. Yeah, okay, I get it. But that is rad. But do they need to be charging $3.99 for a single LP? Fuck no. You know what I mean? Because guys like me, people like you and us, we need those records for us. And we need them at affordable prices. And that is not an affordable price. I mean, I shit you not, the Goodwill is now charging $3.99 for a single LP. May it be bent, scratched to hell, missing, whatever. Who cares? It's just like, oh, whatever, put it in the bin. Someone will buy it. And they're charging the same $3.99 price point, $4, whatever. That's probably €5 fucking or £6 for a single record, and they're doing it to 7-inch singles now as well. I shit you not. 2 songs, and they want $4 for it. I mean, it's absolute highway robbery, and I'm actually refusing to do it. So I don't know how much longer this show will last, this little Tales from the Thrift thing that I do. But this is like a month's worth of stuff. And I've been so picky about what I'm spending my money on just because I have to so I can feed my children. I shouldn't be buying this shit anyway. But whatever, let's get real. I got to do 1 or 2 nice things for myself or I'm going to go fucking insane, right? So again, yeah, sorry to be like, I keep kind of tripping over this topic and I need to stop doing it because this isn't this isn't that type of show, is it? But yeah, man, I swear, the deep, dark months of, winter in Oregon, it can wreak havoc on a person's general well-being and mental health. I've been coming off of a antidepressant over the last 2.5 months, and that's been absolute utter hell. I'm still kind of enduring a bit of it. But it's eased up on me. I'm starting to see the sparkle in my eye again. And anyone that's been on, those types of substances, that type of, garden variety shit, you can relate to what I'm saying. I'm finally, my serotonin levels are the machine's beginning to, sputter back to life. And my equilibrium, my natural equilibrium is beginning to show its glimmer. I'm beginning to see the soul in my eyes again. And that's what that shit can do to certain folks. I understand that certain folks really, it is a life changer. It's a game changer altogether. I totally understand. This was an experimentation, jumping on an antidepressant that I truly, I don't really believe that it was something that I needed to be prescribed. Was dealing with, death of a loved one and pandemic life and just whatever else. And it was recommended to me by my physician. And I was like, okay, whatever. And like I said, it was unnecessary. And the come off from it has been an absolute nightmare. So right on. Thank goodness for music. Music gets us through, right? Love will keep us together. Let me show off all of my cool Junkstore crap. How about that, guys? Sorry, that was a bit of a horrible monologue, but yeah, the preamble to my fun little show is not always the brightest star in the sky. So let's talk about the neat stuff that you all came to look at. Look at my crap, guys. Let's see. I got a really great stack of cassette tapes this time. I happened upon, in some random store, and it slipped past. Okay, that's another thing that we're going to talk about again. Sorry, I have to digress just a slight bit. Going off the rails, Mage. Because these fuckers at the secondhand stores, man, they got a real fucking market. They know what they're doing. And so they hire specialists now. I mean, they've probably always done this, but in recent years, they've understood how the market works and what people are hunting for, and they hire specialists, media specialists, who go in there and they know a little bit of shit about Shinola. You know what I mean? They're horse traders, guys. You know, people like you and I, right? People like us, poor people. And so they find the specialists who know about culture and what's hip. They like to think they know about what's hip. And they find all that stuff that's being donated, and then they mark it way the fuck up, and it turns into the glass case items. So you're paying, I mean, just like insanely stupid prices. Like I saw like a fucking, like a Justin or Taylor Swift LP in the glass case at Goodwill last week. They wanted $49.99 for it, like a warped splatter vinyl, you know, edition of her Red album or something. It was just ridiculous, you know, that kind of stuff. And so these media specialists, they get in there and they're basically the pickers who get the cherry pickers who get to look at everything and jack it way up in price before anyone else gets to look at it. So fuck those guys. Anyway, a bunch of and the thing is because they probably get commission off the media sales from the glass case stuff. So they have, you know, they have a reason to want to, you know, get at all that shit and mark all the prices up so that they can get like a tiny little percentage of commission from their sales. So whatever. A big chunk of stuff slipped through their fingers. Sometimes, you know, the day that they're not working, someone else throws a bunch of stuff out on the shelves. And so I happened upon a fat chunk of classic rock cassette tapes that I'm pretty stoked about. I got a really nice, beautiful, clean, and these are all like, you know, damn near mint. Neil Young's Harvest on cassette. Journey's Escape, pretty dope. A copy of Abbey Road, get right out of town. Fucking cool, dude. Capitol put this out. Who's next? Pretty neato burrito. I talk a lot of shit about these guys. This is one of my least favorite albums by them, to be quite honest. Everyone loves the shit out of it. But the Overture is pretty fun to listen to sometimes. And if you just see a cassette of Rush's 2112 out there for 49 cents, like, you're kind of obligated. We are all obligated to buy at. Of course, Led Zeppelin's 4, the Zoso album. Pretty rad. I don't have this on cassette, so now I do. I'll always be a Michael Jackson fan. I'm an 80s kid through and through. Michael Jackson was, of course, my favorite artist when I was 6 years old. Whose favorite wasn't Michael Jackson in 1986? I mean, give me a fucking break. So yeah, neat to have Thriller on cassette. And last but certainly not least, greatest hits, right? Yeah, Queen's greatest hits on cassette. So pretty neat to have. Some really great cassettes. Got some neat CDs. I won't linger on these too much because no one really thinks CDs are neat anymore. But I'm not a fucking snob. Like I said, this is a variety show. Welcome to Major's Squared Circle variety show. I'm not a fucking snob. I'm not a purist, you know, and so I just show off everything when I find CDs, because now CDs are the bastard children, you know what I mean? And it's pretty rad to still be able to get CDs for $1, because you can find like sealed, like unopened CDs and like great titles, you know, they're super clean. And so now I can own like all that shit I always wanted to have in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s that I would never spend $15.99 or way higher. You know, CDs were expensive back in the day. You know, in the 90s and 2000s, CDs were like, yeah, $24.99 every fucking title. Anyway, you can get these for $1 now. Pretty cool. So coming across this stuff, I love it. This is Mastodon's, I don't know if there was their very first EP, but it was an EP they put out between the Leviathan album and something. It's one of their earliest EPs. I've never even listened to it, so I'm really excited. I just recently picked this up. Yeah, and it's, you know, immaculately clean for $1. Yay for me. And again, this one, I have this on vinyl, but I've never seen this like deluxe slipcase version of Baroness's Blue record. This was their second record, I believe, in 2012, I want to say. 2009, beg your pardon. 2009, they released the Blue record. But yeah, like I said, neat to have this cool slipcase with it. And it's got some added art in it as well. Of course, beautiful cover art. John Dyer Baisley is the name of the man who does the art. He is also the lead singer and guitar player, songwriter in this band. So everyone check out the band Baroness. This kind of cool backstory too. I would never really think to buy this guy's music because it's not really, I don't know, it's just not like my favorite type of stuff. But that kind of cowpunk stuff that was super popular, like 20 years ago. I was in I guess we were called kind of a cowpunk band. It's just that, great amalgamation of kind of classic, outlaw country mixed with punk rock, mixed with a few other styles, all together. But I was in a band called the Koozies here in Eugene, Oregon. And I played in that band for probably maybe almost 2 years. It was a wild time. And we opened for this guy at the old John Henry's, downtown Eugene, Oregon. Hank 3, the third, Hank Williams Jr. No, the third, that's why he's called Hank 3. Anyway, Junior's son, and he's fucking awesome. And yeah, we opened like Tertiary opened up. I think it was a 4-band bill. We either played first or second. I think we played second. So we would have been, third out of 4 on the bill. But opening up for Hank 3, I mean, that's not something a lot of people can say. Double disc. It's like a super deluxe album. So yeah, I'll get my kicks. I'll listen to this a couple times. It's just kind of neat. Kind of a neat story to talk about, I guess. Back in my days of being a rock and roll dude, playing gigs around town and stuff. I need to get back into that. That was the thing that ultimately made me the most happy in life, was playing some rock and roll drums. So I had to get back into that rather than talking to myself on the YouTubes. Whatever. Pardon me while I have a drink. Delicious bubble water. A couple more CDs to talk about. This one kind of takes me back. I don't know, a lot of guys and girls will kind of poo-poo this particular, whatever. When this kind of just struck people the wrong way when it happened, and all of us people that were in the midst of, the scene when it was happening. Like I was like I said, I was born in the early 80s, and I was a teenager in the early 90s, and early and mid 90s. And in 1994, like, this was the coolest thing in the world. This happened the summer between my freshman and sophomore year in high school. Was the Woodstock, the revisioned Woodstock of 1994. And this was, a lot of people's opinions will be kind of like, they will hate on this quite a bit, but this is, you have to admit, is in no way, shape, or form anywhere near as awful as the moments of the next faction of this was the 1998 Woodstock. So they often get kind of like viewed in the same light, which is, I think, very unfair. The music was far better in 1994 than it was in 1998. Besides the fact that this had many classic artists on it as well, people that performed at the very original Woodstock gathering, as well as some of the greatest names, like I said, of the early 90s. Opening up with the band Live, Blues Traveler, Melissa Etheridge, but then Joe Cocker played, which he was at the original, wasn't he? But yeah, Cranberries, Blind Melon, Green Day, the list goes on and on and on. A ridiculous amount of incredible music. The ending of the show, 9 Inch Nails, Peter Gabriel closed the final night. Yeah, really important. I still feel very important. Rollins Band, Bob Dylan played. This was important. And this was not just important to the past generations, but really important to my generation, who wanted to make their stamp, in history. Because I believe that, the music of the 80s and 90s was really important. It was really fantastic. And it was really kind of, written off as just being garbage by our previous generation. The early Xers and the boomers just weren't really impressed, and still aren't. A lot of them still aren't impressed with what was coming out of the 90s. It only took a few more decades to really kind of wash you clean, huh? To kind of like bring you to us. Like, the 90s really wasn't that bad, now was it? And being, a teenager in Eugene, Oregon, in the Pacific Northwest, when all of this shit was kind of, the most popular scene in the world, basically. So, pretty fun. But yeah, I've never actually had a copy of this, ever. I showed on my little show that we're doing now here, one of the earliest episodes I did, I found a VHS copy in a junk store of this. So now I have the audio that I can enjoy in the car. Last CD I found, I have this on LP, but it's great to have, many different formats and copies of it. Ryan Adams, he's coming to Eugene really soon, actually. I want to try to get a ticket. Tickets are about $140. Yeah, so if I really can't afford to really buy dollar CDs and shit these days, I don't know if I can really afford a Ryan Adams ticket for $140. But I'm going to try. I especially love this album. His album 29, I think probably one of his best. If not, I wouldn't say it's his best. It's kind of more of an EP. No, it's not. There's 9 tracks on it. But it's kind of short and sweet, kind of just a sweet afterthought to my favorite album of his, Love Is Hell. So, which is like a double disc, like super triple quadruple whammy. You know what I mean? So, love Ryan Adams. I love this album, 29. You guys check it out. The fucking song Nightbird is probably the best track on that album. Okay, what else I got? I got all kinds of neat things here. I've mentioned before, because I don't collect singles. I don't collect 45s, 7 inches, whatever you call them. I call them Frisbees, because I don't fucking collect them, and I don't listen to them. What's the point of putting on a record that lasts for 3 minutes? I'm just being a prick, guys. I understand the relevance of fucking 7-inch singles. Anyway, go fuck yourselves. I collect them now. I get them for my son, because I bought my son a fun little suitcase spinner. He thinks it's the neatest fucking thing in the world. So it's been really exciting for me to introduce my hobby to my little son, who's 9 years old now, and like I said, he's got his own player, and this is the neatest thing for him. So he's got his own little fucking case now with a big fat stack. I've gotten him some really great stuff. So what did I say? I'm imprinting my son. I'm basically influencing my son's taste in music as best I can. So making sure that he's only getting the very best of the best. I got him a sweet copy of the Kinks' Lola, the Lola single. He needs to know what Lola's all about. L-O-L-A-Lola. This was not a junk store find. I got this at the record store, of course, but paid a really modest price for it. I think he only wanted like $6. Anyway, it's the Pink Floyd's Any Color You'd Like, and Money. It's the Money single on the Harvest label. So my son Finn has some very important historical music there. It's, in the realm of Johann Sebastian Bach and whatnot. Gotta have some Dark Side of the Moon. And this was a big deal to me, because when I was skipping school in 1995 to go downtown Springfield and shoot pool and smoke cigarettes and drink coffee like an idiot, I was skipping school and listening to a jukebox at the pool hall and playing this specific record over and over and over again. The A-side is the song Immortality by Pearl Jam from the album Vitalogy, 1994. And the B-side is a really fantastic single from not that album, from the predecessor to that album from 1993's Versus, the album Versus. The song Rearview Mirror is on the B-side of this, and it's listed by the artist The Frogs, which is, of course, incorrect. It's Pearl Jam again. But yeah, this was the one that I was playing nonstop in 1994 at Jim's Pool Hall on 4th and Main in Springfield, Oregon. And that's where I spent basically my every afternoon of my high school years. That and Larry and Kathy's across the street, the diner across the street. You could still get a cup of coffee for 89 cents. And yeah, this was really important for me to give Finn, my son, because I really want him not just to understand, what rock and roll means to me, but just kind of the more, frilly and playful side of rock and roll. And he's grown up listening to what I listen to. I'd listen to a lot of prog. And so he knows this band, and he particularly really likes this band a lot. And that makes me glow. It makes me so happy that he loves this band. I got him a Camel single, the Moon Madness, the Lunar Sea. It's got Lunar Sea on the A side, and the B side is, what is it again? I can't remember. Another Night. I don't recall what exact song that is. I think it's one of the odd ones out. They did so many different pressings of Moon Madness, and there's a couple different live versions, I think, that appear on the American pressing or maybe the UK pressing. I don't know. I'm rambling now. But yeah, Finn needs to have Camel in his life. It's so good. Oh, there's a freebie in here. I doubled him up. Oh yeah, I got him some CCR. Oh, because he loves that. I've talked about this before, but putting on, the Po' Boys album. What is it? Down on the Corner, Willie and the Po' Boys are playing. Bring a nickel and tap your feet. The first time I ever played that song for my son, he just grinned from ear to ear. He hears that cowbell, boom, 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 get that, do do do. He just loved that song to death, and now when I can always see the look on his face when we spin this record. So, isn't music fantastic? Yeah. All right. Well, what else did I find, guys? I got a VHS tape, only one, but this made me, again, endlessly happy to find this in the wild, because this was another huge part of my childhood. This movie was just on repeat, with the Never-Ending Story and Labyrinth and Goonies, and what was the one with Davy, who's the star, he has the star charts in his head, The Last Navigator, or whatever it's called. Is it The Last Navigator? Oh, fuck, I can't remember the name of that movie. Flight of the Navigator. Badass movie. This was up there on repeat for me. And it's great to have. I haven't seen this. Since probably 1987, 1988. The Last Starfighter. I fucking loved this movie. I don't know if it'll hold up. Like I said, I haven't seen it in 30 years, so more than 30 years, and 4 years. So, yeah, I'm sure it's fantastic still. I remember being quite bizarre in parts. But yeah, you guys all know about this guy. Just, it was a very common theme in popular culture and literature and sci-fi and even in movies. I'm sure this exact plot line, close to the exact plot line, was used and reused over and over again in video games and film and sci-fi pulp novels and just whatever, comic books. The guy's, he's really good at video games, and so he's got the secret plans in his brain, and someone comes from another planet and says, "You're the chosen one." It's the chosen one thing, you know what I mean? That trope. Of course, we love that as a culture and as a civilization. We all, aspire to be the protagonist in some way, shape, or form in every essence of our lives, every sense of our lives. But, yeah, it's relatable. It's fun. It's a cool movie. Yeah. I'm excited to watch this. Yeah, and like I said, I wanted to try to get a little bit more variety into what I'm doing, just for this episode. In other episodes, I'll basically strictly I'll stick to the reviewing records and talking about the same 5 records that I listen to. Yeah, I got 1,000 of them, well, close. I got about 800 or more of them behind me here, and I really only listen to about anywhere from 3 to 30 of them on a regular basis. I need to remedy that, don't I? But we're going to talk about other things too. I just, like I said, I wanted to kind of check in with this episode, but also I've been spending more time, I've been making a point in my life to spend more time reading. I erased all of my social media, guys. I know this kind of seems weird and maybe kind of like, like I'm kind of contradicting myself here as I'm talking to my talking to my phone on basically what is kind of construed as just a sort of a social media platform. But I kept the YouTubes. YouTube is fun to watch things on. I don't find myself endlessly scrolling through YouTube. It doesn't have the level of, toxicity and just kind of the ickiness that the rest of the social media platforms do. So I held on to YouTube, of course, but I erased everything else. I wasn't one of those. I didn't even have Twitter, if you guys can believe it. I literally I've never used Twitter ever once in my entire life. I've never tweeted anything. I don't even understand like the relevance of it. I don't understand why people are why it's such a huge consuming part of their life. It's bizarre to me. I don't understand it. And I was that way about Instagram for a long time too. I was like, I use Facebook, but it's like Instagram does the same thing. You just you're sharing pictures with people, right? Like, why do people need 7 different versions of the same stupid thing that we all do? I don't know. I've always thought Facebook was stupid too, but I've always been on it because I like to chit chat with fucking old friends, and I like to show people what my kids are doing, and because I'm a proud father, and it's that's what I use it for. So but still I found myself kind of okay, but then there's this funny video that I saw that someone wants to share with me, so I have to download TikTok to see it, and so I have to have TikTok, and then I find myself and they're watching your eyeballs, and your camera's it's sensing everything that's going on, all of your heat signatures, and it's like, guys, come on, give me a break. They're straight up reading our fucking minds. There is no fucking question. There's zero question about it. You stare at this, you have this thing within inches of your brain all day long, every day. It's watching what your eyeballs are doing, and I'm you have it in the palm of your hand. It's sensing. The fucking thing was built with fucking alien technology. There's no question in my mind. Whatever. Okay, so let me take my tinfoil hat off real quick. What were we talking about, Mage? I kept the YouTube, but I got rid of everything else. No TikTok, no Facebook, no Instagram, no nothing. So that's been nice. I purged all that horse shit out of my life, which I really wasn't doing much more than just like I said, endlessly scrolling. And it's reading my brain, and it knows exactly what I like and what I want to do. And once I found myself just staring at girls' asses on TikTok for an hour straight, and just it's ridiculous. I need to put these things down, throw them in the garbage. I'm making a concerted effort to read more, which has been so rewarding and wonderful. Not for anything more than just it just feels good to let my brain do something besides just be zapped beyond repair, and I'm not doing anything super challenging. I didn't pick up any fucking Dostoevsky or anything. Well, what you actually do, I do have Crime and Punishment. I built myself a little reading library in my office in the bathroom. And I'm the worst. I'm one of those types that likes to kind of be reading 3 or 4 things at the same time. Not always, but I don't really pick up anything very challenging, let's be honest. I'm not a Stephen King guy, and I'm not a Crime and Punishment novel or a Western novel, any of those types of guys. I really love nonfiction. I read a fuck ton of nonfiction, and that shit's really easy to just pick up and drop, bit by bit. Oh, I'm only in the bathroom for 3 paragraphs. Big deal. I absorbed something, and that's how I like to read. That's kind of the way I've always been. So I still pick up shit at bookstores and at the Junkstore, and I have a lot easier time purging books out of my life for some reason, just because they're easily recyclable. So whatever. I'll show off a few books that I've got recently. We're going to talk about literature. I hope that's okay. Like I said, nothing heady here, guys. Like, I'm really not the most well-read person. But these are ones that I also love the cover art. You know, I buy, that's the way, I'm the same way about my fucking record collection. Like, sometimes I'll just buy music because I enjoy the art on the cover. I'll feel stupid if I buy the book for just the cover art and then don't bother at least trying to read it. So I have read this, of course. Which one? Which one's the Teachings of Don Juan? Carlos Castaneda's first book. I've only read the first one. This is his first one, right? Just the Yaqui way of knowledge. Yeah. Beautiful. So I picked up a copy of this. It's fantastic. And this is the secondary to it. Yeah, a separate reality. Further conversations with Don Juan. Pretty masterful shit. Like I said, I've only ever read the first one, so I'm really excited to get into this one. So yeah, I've been diving into those again. I've also been reading this off and on for like the last 3 months. This wasn't a Junkstore find, but it was a local bookstore used find for a modest price. Shout out to Tsunami Books on Willamette Street in Eugene. And yeah, I don't know, it's really not good, which isn't really all that surprising or displeasing or whatever. I'm just not that disappointed, I guess. I didn't really expect a lot out of it. It's not written by him, the artist that I love dearly. He's not known for being an author. He's known for being a singer in a fucking amazing rock band. He's the singer for the band Tool. His name is Maynard James Keenan. You've all heard of him. He does write by hand himself, maybe like 3 or 4 essays. So I'm only about like 3/4 of the way through it, and I'm still just like bored to tears. And his essays are somewhat interesting, and you know, the way he grew up and just how it is a complete contradictory thing to what you would envision this person performing this art, you know, being the singer of one of the world's most notorious rock bands. But who cares? I mean, that's all so cliche and also fucking boring. Like, and so his ghostwriter, I guess, is that what it's called? Someone who kind of helps you pen something is writing an autobiography for you and about you. Anyway, they just kind of collaborated. She's terrible. Sorry to be mean about it, but she's, I can't even remember her name. But they're friends in real life. And so that's why he did it this way, is because he wanted to help a friend out. And he's just like, I don't want to just write a book about me and talk about me. He was like, you do it, please. You know, so she did it, and she's not a fantastic writer whatsoever. A lot of it's kind of just, you know, I don't know, poorly stitched together, in my opinion, but I'm still going to try to muscle through it. So I've been reading that. All in all, he is pretty kind of an interesting character. When you kind of like use the litmus, you know what I mean? Of the fact that, okay, this is a guy who is responsible for some insanely important, fucking awesome rock and roll. So, yeah, but enough about that. I've also been pouring most of my time in. I've reread this series. This will be my third time through the whole series. I've pulled this one out and read passages more often than anything else. It's the very first in Robert Anton Wilson's series, Cosmic Trigger. It's a 3-part series. It's a fucking masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece. I could reread this every day till the end of time. I don't know why it's been so long since it's one of those that you could just, it's such a, what it lacks in actual girth, like it makes up for like in sheer substance of what you're reading, because it reads like every novel is like an essay, like a separate idea. They do often coalesce into like a strange web of, you know, places and people that obviously his family, and like, you know, he talks a lot about Timothy Leary, and he talks, you know, just people throughout his life. He's, if anyone that doesn't know who Robert Anton Wilson is, he's kind of a godfather of like the counterculture and psychedelics movement of like the late 50s, early 60s. during this, the early studies before it was illegalized and whatever else, blah, 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 blah. The guy is up there with, with Dr. Leary and Ken Kesey and all of these, heroes of American counterculture. But it goes way fucking deeper than that. He has written actual tomes, like I'm talking like Bible-sized books about the Illuminati and whatever else. He goes on incessantly about his favorite author being James Joyce, the famous Irish author. And Joyce was the same way. The book Ulysses was like whatever, how many thousands of pages or whatever. I don't know. But this has been a huge inspiration in my life ever since the first time I read it. God, I read this when I was just a young man. I was in my early 20s. I was still doing what kids in their early 20s do. Just like, I was just sitting down at the pub, And when you're just sitting down at the pub every day and you're just working a job you hate and that's it, this is the perfect literature for guys like that guy. I remember that guy. But, yeah, anyway, everyone check it out, especially this one, Final Secret of the Illuminati, the Cosmic Trigger book, Robert Anton Wilson. Last I'm going to talk about in my little bit of, bookery here, this is my favorite novel, and I have like 4 other different copies of this, and this one it's actually one of the more common ones, but I've just never, it's a Bantam book, and it's the smallest and thinnest, and I like the art probably the best of all the different versions I have. It's my favorite novel. It's one of Hermann Hesse's novels. The story Demian by Hermann Hesse. This has a lot of personal meaning to me, not for any real super deep reasons, but this is just, I've talked about my my addictions and my recovery from substance abuse before, a little bit on this channel. So I guess it's, probably not news to anyone. I only have a few hundred subscribers. And most of them are just subscribers and not followers, if you catch my drift. But anyway, this was one of those novels that, helped me through that nightmare. So, yeah, the story Demian by German author. He was strictly German. He was a German citizen. He wasn't German American. Yeah, the German author Hermann Hesse. So famous for the novel Siddhartha and what else? He wrote a lot of books, but Nope is really good. Steppenwolf. Yeah. So that's this guy. That's my favorite novel. So there's all that. Look at all that neat junk, guys. I've got so much neat shit. As I was at the beginning of the episode, I was just bitching about not having any money and not having any neat... I don't have any neat things. I'm such a little bitch. All right, you guys want to see some LPs? That's what you came here for. It's like 45 minutes I've been rambling, and I haven't even shown you any fucking records. God, I suck. All right, I'll just dive right into it because I got some neat shit that I've recently found. This was not a junk store find. This was from my favorite, the bastion I hang out at, my record store, the House of Records in Eugene, Oregon. It was like $5, so I was like, the art is cool. I have never heard of this, the label, Space Bomb. It must be fairly new, but yeah, it's just called Library Music. And it's just the Space Bomb House Band. So it's just a bunch of people that started this label and a bunch of people that perform on it. And it's a variety LP. It's just got like all kinds of really cool like mood music and electronica and like weird ass, the type of hip hop that I can almost kind of like get into. I'm not a hip hop guy at all. Cause it's more like, it's like trip hop. It's like, instrumental trip hop, psychedelic stuff, kind of cool, and like I said, lots of really cool like electronic ambient moments, some cool rock, just straight up rock and roll moments. It's just a weird ass variety record, just featuring this kind of new up and coming indie label. So yeah, everyone check it out. Space Bomb Records. Started in like 2019, it looks like. Pretty cool. This one kind of drew me in for the art. Loved it. Found this at the junk store for $3. Dr. Corn's Bluegrass Remedy. You'll love the way it feels in your innards or something. It'll tickle your innards. It's just a bluegrass record. But this one's important to me because it's from that label. I've talked about it just a little bit. They're a Portland, Oregon label. I'm here in Oregon as well. I'm only about 100 miles down the road. But it's called Grassroots Records. They're responsible for a lot of great bluegrass and folk and Celtic music and stuff. There was a band that my mother used to follow. She grew up in Seattle and Portland, was a teenager in Portland. And so she would go see this band called, what were they called? Howling Gale. Bluegrass and Celtic music. And so that was that label. They put this out too. So that's what they were notorious for. Pretty neat. It's textured. And it's got that really cool, like just kind of 70s vibe. I love it. Another one, just one for mom. You know, mom instilled a lot of really great music in me. Believe it or not, you probably can't tell by talking to me or looking at me or even looking at my record collection or not, but there's some musicals. We're talking, you know, like Broadway musicals that I can really, really get down on because they're just fantastical masterworks of sheer art. And I respect and love quite a bit of them, especially the king lord of modern day contemporary musical theater, Stephen Sondheim. We just lost Stephen Sondheim last year. He died, I think it was last year. Was it 21 or 22 that he passed? Anyway, this is another, like I said, kind of a variety show. My mother had performed in this specific show a few times. It's called Side by Side by Sondheim. It's just a collection of some of his greatest singles. You know what I mean? From, you know, West Side Story and Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum and Into the Woods and, I mean, The Fantastics and Pacific Overture. And he's responsible for just literally some of the most important artistic works of the 20th century. Rest his soul. And this is a really fantastic double LP of tons of great music by him. So, very happy to have that in my collection now. Another beautiful Ravi Shankar record that I found for a couple dollars. It's in mint fucking condition. I have like 2 or 3 Ravi Shankar records now. Maybe even 4. I think I have 4. I just love it. It's great mood music. It's great to wake up to, have some coffee. I don't know, people might find it kind of like invasive and weird. I don't. I find it very peaceful and relaxing. Even like the crazy ragas with like, you know, with like lots of tabla drums and just, I love that shit. It's great. It's a live one. Yeah, I forgot to mention, I've listened to it. It's cool. Live in San Francisco. Nito Burrito. I was happy to find that. Another weird one that I knew nothing about. I like picking up cheap shit that I don't know about, especially when I've never seen it. A band called Nena. They're German. They're just probably a German, you know, electropop group. I haven't listened to it yet. Kind of neat though. Excited to dig into it. This was just like, I had to buy this. I'm not really the biggest like I'm not the biggest like proto metal fan, because a lot of the prototype to like modern day metal, like, let me start over. I love proto metal, but in the weird years where it was kind of like about to turn into like biker metal and hair, like the difference between like, you know, studded leather biker metal and you know, hairspray glam metal. This was just kind of like the sticky mess right before that. They weren't really any good yet. It's an interesting listen. It probably will go down in history for one of the worst album names, in my opinion. I'm not a giant Judas Priest fan. But this album, I don't know, you see a fucking, you know, primo copy, just in immaculate condition for $3, you know, at a St. Vincent de Paul. You gotta have it. Rockarola. Horrible fucking album name. Cause it's Coca-Cola, see you guys? And it's in the same style of, wow. really creative for 1974. And this was them before they were them. You know what I mean? They became a different fucking band. Not but 4 years transpired from this point, and whole different band. Kind of cool. Had this one many times. I've never seen a copy of it that's so clean for a few dollars at a junk store. Yeah, dude. The Seeds album, Future. Is that what it's called? Is it just called Future? I thought it was called something different. Yeah. What's the one with the fucking... Oh, am I thinking of the Zombies? Never mind. I had a song in my head, and I think it was a Zombies song, not a Seeds song. But this is a fantastic album. It's got all the original fucking cool, like, inserts and stuff. Is this one that has yeah, it's got like all these really neat cutout inserts and photos of the band and stuff. Yeah, I scored. Great junk store find. This was fun. I'd never seen this. I guess it's kind of rare to see cover art in the 70s and 80s that had violence, like real, like, kind of gore violence on the cover, and it just kind of like slipped past all of the what do you call them, the censors, whatever. This movie soundtrack called Haunted. I've never even heard of this film. Music by Laura Crane. Yeah, just some really, like a B movie from the 70s. Some 70s B movie called Haunted. Yeah, kind of cool. More movie soundtracks. This is from my childhood. They used to play this on Disney Channel all the fucking time. Thought this movie was super cool. The Black Hole. Yeah. Way cool. And it's like a mint copy. It's got all the booklet in it and everything. I listened to it. The whole thing. It was fun. I was doing some work on my computer, doing some data entry and stuff like that. And I just listened to this whole thing. It was neat. I'm such a dork. This was cool. I have a lot of Everly Brothers collections. I don't listen to a lot of like golden era American, when country music was metamorphosizing and taking on a new form and melding with rock and roll and blues and stuff like that. These guys were definitely, probably my favorite of all that era. So I do collect a lot of their stuff, but I'd never seen this one. It's a really great compilation album, but this is pressed in the UK. You don't see that a lot. You don't see a lot of Everly Brothers, collections pressed in the UK on red vinyl. Warwick label. Really cool. That's a neat find. It sounds really good. A lot of the American pressings of just their garden variety albums, from the 60s and stuff, the early 60s, like, they kind of sound pretty shitty. This sounds really fantastic. So that was a really fun happenstance. You guys have all seen this a billion times. I'll be honest, so have I. I haven't listened to it yet, but my tastes have, gotten so much more mellowed out in the last like 10 years. I've only really been a very serious vinyl collector for a little over 10 years now. I've always had records in my life, and I haven't always had a turntable, but pretty close. But I've always had, a music collection in some format or some way, shape, or form. And I've only been a very serious, record collector for a little over a decade now. And so my tastes have just been metamorphosizing with my age. I'm listening to a lot more jazz these days, a lot more just instrumental music altogether. But yeah, when I used to really make fun of and poo-poo a lot of this like easy jazz, even outside of the Windham Hill label, like I've always adored the Windham Hill label. That's always been a huge part of my upbringing and of who I am. But then when you kind of like, you go over that nerd hill, on the other side is where all like the cool guys are. But it's like, really? Are you that much cooler than the people up on Windham Hill? Like, come on. And so I'm talking about the ECM label, because a lot more serious jazz cats, like guys who are real jazz heads, they go on the ECM label. And it's like, it's still just fucking dork music, dude. But I love it. Don't get me wrong. So all those ECM artists, I'm starting to pick a lot of those guys up now. This Red Lanta album I've just been seeing it around for years, so I'm finally going to give it a shot. It's got some famous names on it. Jan Garbarek, is that how you pronounce it? Garbarek? Art Lande. And so, yeah, just some really interesting shit. Is it Keith Jarrett that does a whole bunch on ECM as well? I mean, I have some Eberhard Weber albums, you know, and I get the Pat Metheny albums, and I get, like I said, the Eberhard Weber and stuff like that. I have quite a bit of ECM artists, but I'm going to start diving in and like getting a lot more, because this stuff really feeds my soul. It's really good. So yeah, this Red Lance album, pretty cool. I don't know anything about this one either. I just love the art. I've seen it around for years and years and years. It's just like kind of, it's just psychedelic blues rock, isn't it? Harvey Mandel, and the album's called Christo Rendetter. So yeah, really fantastic art. Should be cool. Can't wait to dive in. Another one of those, just psychedelic blues rock. Thorinsfield. It's got the really fantastic Tibetan Buddhism, you know, art imagery, and really fucking neat. I did spin this. I don't really remember anything about it. So I'll revisit it soon. It was a couple, like I said, it's been about almost a month, or no, not that long. It's been 2 or 3 weeks since I posted last, but it's been a month since I've done Tales from the Thrift. And so a lot of this stuff has just been sitting. I listened to it the day I got it, and then 3 or 4 weeks goes by, and I'm like, oh yeah, have I listened to that? I don't really remember. Oh, I found a really great chunk of like classic country. Look at this cool Johnny Cash records. I've never even seen this one on the Sun label. What does it say? Greatest. It just says, it's the greatest of all his albums. Look at that young buck. Look at that fucking guy. Oh, before he found that big old ball of cocaine. Kept chasing that big old ball of cocaine all over the goddamn state. Yeah, man. And this one too. Look at this look at that young man. What a handsome feller. All these old Johnny Cash. It says Johnny Cash right there on his guitar. Man, it's fucking cool. Yeah, nice shirt, dude. That's a great shirt. I need to start wearing button-up shirts. Maybe I'll get me one of them ladies or something. Excited about this one. Haven't listened to it yet, but this shit is right up my alley. If you guys watch my channel at all, I'm excited about this. I just got this a few days ago. The source of all things. I'm assuming Japanese electronic minimalism. I'm pretty sure. Like I said, I haven't listened to it yet, but really fucking neat to find stuff like this in a junk bin at a St. Vincent de Paul. The artist Osamu Kitajima. Yeah, so dude, it's even got the fucking Obi strip. Super neat. For $3 at a junk store. And this one too, dude. Like, you don't see this type of stuff. Some fucking weirdo Scandinavian jazz guitarist, man. Jukka Tolinen. Jukka Tolinen? I'm trying. I'm assuming this person is Scandinavian. So yeah, should be cool. It's on Janus label. So any of you heads that know anything about progressive rock, you know about Janus label. Janus label put out a bunch of Camels albums in the early and mid 70s. Their most famous album, the Snow Goose, was put out on the Janus label. So yeah, excited to dive into that one. Oh, this one, another kind of flash of my past, my childhood. I don't know anything about this person or the character or the person who portrayed the character. I don't even know anything specifically about the comedy, but I remember my parents laughing their asses off at him, and it made me just laugh at them laughing about it, because I knew it was a joke, and I knew this guy was being a character actor. And as just being a child watching Saturday Night Live and seeing your parents react, like, oh, I get it. I get why they're laughing at him. It doesn't take an adult to watch adult funny stuff. You know what I mean? I was one of the lucky kids that in 1985, my parents were letting me stay up late and watch Saturday Night Live with them. So I learned a lot about culture, music, comedy, everything. It was a lot of fun. And this was one of the characters. Like I said, I don't even know who portrayed this character, but if this was like somebody who only came on to portray this character at random times on the show, I think that was the situation. But the father Guido Sarducci character, and look at this magnificent album art, and just is it called Breakfast in Heaven, starring Father Guido Sarducci. I don't know. I remember my parents laughing their fucking asses off at this, so I'm really excited to listen to that. All right, guys, I'll wind it up here. I'll finish. I've been babbling for a long time, but this has been a lot of fun. Thank you very much for watching my stupid show and letting me show off all my neat junk. So yeah, just a couple more here. Some of them are some pretty amazing. I'm still kind of shocked that I found these at Junkstores in such great condition. The Junkstore still giveth little treasures here and there. I know I spent a lot of time bitching early on in the episode about how they're kind of ripping off the everyman, but sometimes it gives you, shining little gifts from heaven. Manna from above sometimes. This one not really being one of those, but this is neat because when you come across copies of this that are not completely thrashed, and they're even like a modest, like very good to very good plus, it makes you happy. The very famous group that came out of Portland, Oregon, again, responsible for that big giant hit in 1960, whatever, who gives a fuck, the Kingsmen, singing Louie Louie. That's right, boys and girls, get ready to mash potatoes till the cows come home, whatever. On the Cool Wand label, this copy, oh my God, guys. I mean, it can't get any more like very good plus to excellent condition than this. And I know it's not fucking rare, especially not here in Oregon, but it's pretty cool, amongst many, many other hits. One of the first real garage rock bands to really make big. Yeah, I love this kind of fucking old 60s garage rock. It's really fucking cool. So I'm stoked to have a nice clean copy of that I can tolerate. Like I've said, I've had many copies of that, and it's like totally unlistenable. It will destroy your stylus. So it's great to have a clean copy. Here's a few more that I'm just kind of beside myself finding these in the wild like I did. I was even just thinking about this. It was super weird. I was looking on Discogs, and I was, trying to find a affordable copy because I was like, man, out of all their albums, I've kind of talked shit about, middle era, like 80s era prog, and how a lot of it's absolute rubbish, pretty much all of it. And so it's really hard to get into bands like this for me. But this one, out of all their albums, this one is by far my favorite. And finding a copy of Misplaced Childhood by Marillion in the Junkstore for $3, mint, like near mint. It's super fucking rad. And this is, like I said, this is the only Marillion album that I care to listen to. So now I got it for next to nothing. So the Junkstore gods shined on me once again. I'm a lucky boy, I know. And again, in that same vein, I have no idea where these guys are from. I'm pretty sure they're probably just from England. I'm sure all you fuckers will correct me in the comments. But super cool art. I just immediately was like, neato, I know that type of music. 80s prog. But it's definitely better than most. It's better than most I've ever heard. Again, kind of that awkward era, like 1984. Like, are you trying to play metal? Or are you trying to be progressive? Like, what are you doing here? I know you're feathering your hair, and you're probably even putting mascara on. So, are you really going to be edgy and progressive with this, or are you just going to do what everyone else has been doing? So they kind of, like I said, they kind of like balance that they're kind of walking on that blade a little bit. But then when I looked at the back, and I was like, oh shit, they do mean business. This is produced by Eddie Offord. Eddie Offord, the famous producer for the middle 5 Yes albums that were their biggest and best. So And you can even kind of tell it by the art. Anyway, sorry. This is a group called Palace, I believe it's probably pronounced. Palace. Palace. But Pallas. So yeah, whatever, kind of funny play on words or whatever. With some interesting kind of, Trojan, art there, I guess. But it's more like a futuristic dystopian kind of thing. But then you have these like airships that were very, inspired heavily by Roger Dean, and like, the landscape art is obviously very heavily inspired by Roger Dean, and rainbows and flying ships and everything's very John Anderson here. Everything's very, very Eddie Offord and John Anderson. But it's great. The music doesn't really reflect that though. Like I said, this is kind of more into the 80s, kind of more of a metal inspired kind of thing going on. Like you can kind of catch tinges of like the guy's singing style, like is very similar to Bruce, what's his last name? Bruce whatever, the singer of Iron Maiden. But to be honest, he's nowhere near the caliber of that, because he just doesn't have the pipes for it. I just mean like his vibrato and like where he carries his voice, kind of like somewhere in the back of his like, upper throat. Reminiscent of that sound, but just can't pull it off. So the singing really isn't fantastic. The playing's pretty good. It's definitely worth a listen. So yeah, check it out, guys. I think it's just self-titled. Palace. No, it's called The Sentinel. So yeah, The Sentinel by Palace. I think it's like 1984. Pretty cool. Worth it just for the art, for a couple dollars. All right, guys. This is probably the best find that I've had in the last month. I immediately was like, oh God, I have to have that. The cover art's fantastic. I had no idea what it was. And by the cover art being fantastic, I mean the cover is cringy as fuck. CAF, cringy as fuck, but hilarious at the same time. And I was like, what is this going to be about? And I was like, I bet this is a fucking metal band. It is. It's some like super cheesy, like early 80s metal band called Riot. Albums, what's it called? Fire Down Under. And you're like, oh, cool. They're probably from Australia. No, I don't think so. I think they're an American band. They got a fire down under somewhere. And it's like fire, like flames in the background of this like a seal, like a common Arctic or like a harbor seal with a human torso. Like, what the fuck is going on here, dude? This is the weirdest shit I've ever seen. And then you look at the back and the guys, like, they're not even all like weirded out like 80s hair metal glam guys. And this is like early 80s, 81. So it's probably more like thrash metal, like inspirations, you know what I mean? Like these guys, I remember I listened to it a little bit, and it's kind of like you can get the sense that like this is like the precursor to like the Metallica era, like kind of thrash metal stuff. These guys mean business. They're not out there just to look pretty and get some girls and free drinks. Like they're about the music. The music's actually pretty good from what I recall. So I'm gonna spin it some more and get more familiarized with Riot for a $3 junk store find. Pretty neat. All right, boys and girls and everyone in between. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Again, I apologize if it's a little bit too drippy with, my personal life. But hey, it's my fucking channel. So I talk about me. Get over it. Come back and visit me again sometime. Maybe I'll post again this week. This was kind of fun. So, yeah, all that aside, be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. Spring is coming. So, yeah, peace be with you. Goodbye. Face